Hey, what's going on, my Evercade enthusiasts? My name's Evercade. I'm on the channel, and today I want to talk about, well, this is going to be quite a kind of a weird topic to talk about because obviously Blaze has already tried to argue that this isn't going to happen, but I feel like there is potential for this to happen in the future in some form. But today we're going to address whether or not we could see a Capcom collection physically on Evercade. Now, I know a lot of people point out with the fact that Evercade already has a Capcom collection, a digital collection on the EXP. Anyone who owns an EXP will have access to this Capcom collection. But to me personally, I feel like there is potential that we could see either this get expanded to VS as an optional purchase or a physical collection in some way. Now, let me explain why. First of all, several of the games on this collection, like Street Fighter 2, right, have multiplayer built into it, right? And why would you want to play multiplayer on a handheld device if obviously there's no multiplayer aspect to it? Obviously, we could end up seeing a online multiplayer for the XP, but I do feel it's more likely that we would see the game be available in some form on the VS. Now, my preferred version would obviously be on a cartridge, but then if you put it on a cartridge, those that already have an EXP already have those games, so would they want to double dip? That's the sort of problem you've got to address here. Now, Blaze has already addressed that Capcom didn't want to do a cartridge, they only want to do it digitally. And technically it's not digital because it's built into the game, but built into the system. So, yeah, it looks kind of like we're not going to see one, right? Well, I think this is the potential to actually see one because there are other games in some of the franchises that obviously aren't on the EXP. You know, Breath of Fire 2, for example. You know, Street Fighter 3. You know, Resident Evil. Just saying, there's some notable games from Capcom that ain't on the EXP version of the Capcom collection. Just saying. So hopefully, the Capcom collection on the XP has shown to do really well. You know, people have bought a load of. Hopefully, people have bought on the XP and it's done really well. And Capcom sort of looked at that and like, okay, we've made some money here, and hopefully Blaze can go to the table with Capcom and like, hey, you know, we've sold this many consoles, we've got games onto it. Would you like to do a follow up, but actually do a cartridge? Because I do personally feel that Capcom will eventually do a cartridge. The reason being because obviously they'll probably look at the sales that these games are getting from the EXP, or like they might have some data from other sales on Evercade. Because obviously, for those who don't know, what some publishers would do well, not publishers, like systems do to convince publishers to join their systems, is either give them a huge chunk of money up front, or they will show them the sales numbers of similar games or similar collections on those systems. And I do feel like we could potentially see such a thing with Capcom. You know, imagine it. Imagine seeing, you know, Resident Evil on an Evercade cartridge. The original Resident Evil, that'd be amazing. So would getting more Mega Man games. You know, more games in the more games in the Street Fighter series, more games in basically any of Capcom's well-known franchises that are on there. You know, it'd be nice to see a Capcom cartridge, but will it happen? Don't know. It all comes down to the contract negotiations. But to me personally, I do feel like there is a chance we could see such a thing because of the popularity of Capcom's IPs and Capcom's games, as well as how popular Evercade has shown itself to be as a system. Not to mention, Blaze could have sort of argued to Capcom, well, think about it, we could have doubled the sales and you could have got double the money. So, for those of you who don't know, I believe the way that the Evercade works is obviously to get an upfront fee, and then obviously every Evercade cart afterwards they get like a royalty. I believe that's how the publishers make money on Evercade. But from what I know, Capcom would if that is the case, Capcom would be potentially missing out on a lot of money because obviously then those games are only being sold for the people who buy the EXP. So if you have the original handheld or the VS and you don't really want to buy the EXP, then you're not going to buy those things. So Capcom doesn't make any money off it. So I can see Blaze as, you know, flaunting the sales of the EXP to Capcom and then going, but we could have sold even more copies and made even more money if obviously the games were on the cartridge and available on the VS as well. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Do you think we'll see a Capcom collection physically on Evercade? I hope we do. I'm not entirely sure we will, but I do hope there is potential in the future. You know, if you're new, make sure you subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. I'm trying to reach 300 subs by the end of the month. See if we can do it. I've been Evercade and I'm signing out. Peace.